So remember the one we talked about, the student with the 12.92 GPA who got denied? Because no one gets accepted to college, according to the news. Okay, we're going to prove how untrue that really is. And our 4 lovely volunteers, can we give them a round of applause, please? Even though they're blinded right now. We have 4 categories. Under 25%, so these schools are accepting under 25% of their applicant pool, between 25 and 50% of their applicant pool, 50 to 75%, so majority, and then over 75% of their applicant pool, with some schools in that list accepting 99 and 100%. So, there are 2012 4-year public and private accredited schools in the United States. That is the number that we're working with. We're going to do this Price is Right style, where you're just going to yell out numbers. I am your Bob Barker. And so, we're going to get started. Our friend here in the middle has the first under 25 list. It is rolled up. She knows the number. You all don't. So, with that being said, how many schools of those 2012 accept under 25% of their applicant pool? So they are highly selective. 100, 50, 200,
10,
300, 250, 150,
10.
10, 20. Okay, you tell us.
Oh,
64. 64 schools out of the 2012 accept less than 25% of their applicant pool. How does that feel? Good. At least that's how it should feel. Feels great. There are many, many, many institutions left on the list. So let's start talking about those. We'll start with the between 25 and 50%. How many schools are on that list? 200, 120, 150, 300, 500. Last guess. 400.
Whoa.
480. 480 schools accept less than 50% of their applicant pool. 64 accept less than 25%. We started with 2012. There's a lot more left on that list that are accepting over half of their students. Okay. The next list is between 50 and 75%. I'm going to tell you to guess higher. Just a thought. Okay, go ahead. 1,500, 1,000. 700. 917. 813. 830. 830. Okay. 600. So you're not that either. You might not be able to get all that. 857. So her first roll is the size of this room. So I won't ask you to undo that, but appreciate. I mean, if you want to do it, you can. But 857. 857 schools accept over half of their applicant pool, up to 75%. It's a very large number. And those are very good odds. Except they're not odds because you're going to be doing everything you can to get accepted into these institutions. So, that being said, we have one category left, our over 75%. And if you've been doing the math along with me, you know what that number is. Okay, he's unrolling. He's got this. So 611. So There are many, many, many schools that are accepting many of their applicants. Again, the numbers are 64 under 25%, 480 between 25 and 50, 857 over 50%, and 611 over 75%. We're going to college. Okay. All right, let's thank our volunteers. You guys can keep those. Okay. So at this point, I'd like to talk now about timing. Timing is everything, and knowing where you stand within this process is really important. There are chairs up here if you guys want to come and sit. I'll call you.
Actually, can you do me a favor? If there's a chair next to you, can you raise your hand and if the chair is empty next to you? You guys can see there's a lot of chairs, so find a chair.
Squeeze in. Squeeze in.
Yeah. Two chairs right next to you. There's plenty of seats, so you find one. Thank you. Put your hand down. Thank you. And especially in the front. There's the front 2 rows. There's quite a bit.
I won't make you volunteer if you come sit in the front row with me.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so timing. It all starts in the 9th grade. My first bullet point, why? Yeah, it's when high school starts, in the 9th grade. Right? So your transcript begins in the 9th grade. Now, technically, I know that you can take courses in 7th and 8th grade. There are a lot of math courses, foreign language courses that you have the ability to take, but those show up on your high school transcript. So please just be mindful that we are seeing everything from possibly 7th, 8th grade to transfer in, but for your entire high school career. So not only are we able to see your grades, but we're able to see what? Classes, your attendance, but the curriculum, the courses that you've chosen to take. And we see those up through your senior year. So when you're applying in the fall of your senior year, what do we see then? So if a student is applying, tomorrow is Randolph-Macon's early action deadline date, in fact. So if they're applying tomorrow, what am I seeing on their transcript?
9th through 11th.
9th through 11th, yeah. So the junior year, that's a pretty important year because it's the last full year of grades that we see. So in your senior year, we do still see something, at least see a little bit more if it's in the spring, but what are we seeing currently? So if a student applies tomorrow. The courses that you're currently enrolled in. And so, I say this, and I will say this numerous times throughout this program, but you should be exhausting your curriculum through your senior year. And if you don't know what that is or what your curriculum offers, you should be having conversations with your counselors because it is not too late. It's still very early. And so you should be having those conversations to see what your high school offers. I will also say that exhausting a curriculum to me may look very different than the person sitting next to you and then to yourself. So what I'm not saying is I'd like to see 14 AP classes on your transcript. That's not what you heard. And if it is what you heard, let me say that again. I'm not asking you to take 14 APs or 12 IB courses. I'm asking you to do what's right for you. If you are finding it easy to take honors courses or one AP course, maybe add a second. If it's easy for you to do 2, that's fine. If you are feeling challenged within your curriculum that you're currently taking, that's okay too. So, I had a student 3 days ago? No, it was last Friday. He decided that he wanted to be angry with me because he missed the early action deadline date at UVA. Now, if you remember a few slides ago, I'm from Randolph-Macon, and my deadline date, as I just mentioned, for early action is tomorrow. And he said, well, I get that yours is tomorrow, but UVA's was the 1st. And I said, huh? And then he said, well, I missed it because your deadline date's the 15th. And I'm like, I'm still not getting it. However, after I sat back, it's because our early action, it was all called early action. And so the reason knowing the naming structure is important is because they're different, but realizing that they can be called the same thing and yet have different deadline dates. So when you are looking at schools and you're compiling your list of schools in which you'd like to actually apply, make sure you're looking at the actual date, not just the naming structure. So early decision. What's the difference between early decision and early action? Does anybody know? Binding, yep. So early decision is binding. Please know, or don't be so afraid of early decision because you'll know you're entering into it. There are people who are like, they see it in the drop down and their hands start shaking over their mouse because they're like, oh no, don't click that, don't even hover near that. You'll know you're doing it. You sign a contract, students, parents, you also sign it, and your counselor signs it. And they're saying that I'm entering into this agreement understanding that if I'm admitted to this institution, I'm withdrawing my application from all other institutions and placing my enrollment deposit down at your school. Early action is non-binding, and it will say in parentheses non-binding. So early decision, you typically, November 1st, they'll let you know mid-December to December, somewhere around that time, and you'll know and you will be enrolled and your deposits placed before you go home for holiday break, before the new year. Early action, you'll still know early, but you have until May 1st, which is the national decision deadline date, to place your enrollment deposit down. You have time to go through the financial aid process. You have time to go back and visit, and not that you don't with early decision. It's just a shorter window. Okay. Regular decision is typically in the spring, so February, March timeframe. Most schools will let you know by April 1st, meaning you have about 30 days to go back and visit and make that decision. So a little shorter time frame, but it's okay. You may have needed to take the SAT or the ACT one more time in the late fall. You wanted to raise your test score. You may want an extra semester of grades on your transcript because there's a nice upward trend going. So you might have been a little wishy-washy when you first started high school, had some transition issues, needed to figure out what curriculum was really good for you. And so you're doing well, you're hitting your stride. And so maybe you wanted those grades to be on your transcript and you wanted the counselors and the schools to see those. So regular decision may be the better option. Having those conversations as a family and with your counselors, especially on which rounds to apply, can really help you figure all of that out. But please beware of the timing. And then again, junior year, it's so important because it really is your last full year of grades. Okay, I hear this often, but I'm just a sophomore. Mom, why are you making me go to this program? Okay, there's really no such thing anymore. I had an 8th grader in my office the other day. That's a little early. I also had an 8th grader at a college fair table not long ago, and he's like, I'm going to be an astrophysicist. And I believe him. So I had a conversation with him, and I'm like, yeah, okay. So here are a few things that you can do as just a sophomore. So how many of you have taken the PSAT plan? How many of you have taken the actual SAT? Okay. PSAT, great practice test, but you can start looking at dates, doing actual SAT practice exams online. College Board has testing resources, just doing some practice questions and knowing what is coming. There's nothing wrong with being prepared. That's why you're here. Updating your file of important documents and notes. How many of you, students, can hand me a resume right now for the really awesome job I have in my office? Half. Okay. So I have one full person between the two. They're like, eh. Okay. It's not a bad idea to start building a resume out. I'm not asking for 6 pages of resume, but putting down your extracurricular activities that you're involved in, the leadership roles, the awards that you have won. On the application, we ask for those things. You are also able to upload your resume. And it's also not a bad idea that when you get to college, you have a resume to build off of. We have more first-year students doing internships now more than ever. They want to start in their freshman year. There's a recent study that shows, and it shows at Randolph-Macon as well, that the more internships a student has, the higher likelihood of getting a job before they actually are even leaving college and graduating is significantly higher. And so our students on average, and we're at 90% within 6 months of graduation, our students are in graduate school or employed, are doing 3 internships at minimum. Researching your colleges and universities and planning a visit. Planning an actual visit, not doing a drive-by on the way to your grandparents' house when you go to Thanksgiving next week. That's important to do, and you can go and just see if you like the college campus, but if you are actually interested in the school, do an official college tour. Let a highly skilled tour guide, because they are, walk you around campus and show you around a little bit and tell you a little bit more about the college's history, finding out if it could be a good fit for you. Find out again about the honors and AP, IB courses that are offered here at your school, because when we are reading applications, we are looking for that strength of curriculum, and we're looking for it from your school. I'm not looking at the school down the street versus you, I'm looking for your school. Continuing extracurricular activities, the ones you are passionate about, the ones that you find purpose in, not the 16 that you feel like you need to add at the end of your junior year to pad the resume you're going to work on this evening when you go home. We know what you're doing. You want to see passion and purpose, not quantity. Continuing participation in enrichment programs and summer projects, and then continuing, and I will say continuing because I know you've all met with your school counselors, but going and using the resources here at your school. We're all going to read this quote when I count to 3. It's one of my personal favorites. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
College is a match to be made, not a prize to be won.
You guys are great. Thank you. What does that mean? Your fit. Finding the right fit for you. At the bottom, it says that it is not about admission, it is about graduation. So it's not about putting the acceptance letter on your fridge to brag about it. It is about bragging about it a little bit. You should be excited to go to college, but that's not the purpose. My mom hung my acceptance letter up with a magnet with my face on it from when I was like 7. It was super embarrassing. All but not the purpose for just applying to schools. There was a student a few years ago who applied to 7 Ivy League institutions and was admitted to all of them. And a student, so that he was interviewed and they're like, why did you do it? And he said, because I could. It's crazy. So doing your research on the institutions and finding out if it could be a good fit for you for your 4 years. Do you want an esports program? Do you want nursing? Do you want engineering? Do you want internships? Knowing what that's about. 2 years ago, a college counseling friend of mine in California put Randolph-Macon on a student's list. Family was from Virginia, she wanted to come back to the East Coast, she knew the student's profile, and she's like, you know, I really think Randolph-Macon would be great. So the student said, okay, I'll go home this weekend and I'll do a little bit of research. So she did, and she knew that we were in Ashland. She knew that there was an Amtrak train, and the station was right in Ashland, and our students participated in the Washington Initiative and were going up north all the time, that we were close to Richmond, that our alumni base was number 2 in the state of Virginia for the participation of giving. She knew the Edge Career Center and factoids, and yet she's like, I don't think it's for me. That's okay. So the counselor's like, oh, okay, well, where are you thinking? And the student replied, Yale. So the counselor's like, do you know where Yale even is? And she said, what does that matter? So she knew everything that she could possibly dig up on our school, on Randolph-Macon, but she wasn't necessarily seeing why it mattered to even maybe know the city or state. She goes, okay, so maybe not the city, but do you know the state? And the young woman responded, it's in New England somewhere. Not a state. However, I suppose I'm saying a little bit more than please know the city and state in which your college resides. I'm saying that just because the school is so well known, or they possibly won you the bracket last year in NCAA basketball, does not necessarily mean it's the right fit for you. And so doing some research, giving a school a little bit more time, going to visit, seeing if the student conversations are the conversations that you want to have for the next 4 years of your life, those are all really important factors. And so again, it's not just about admission to the school, it's about graduation. So parents, there's a lot of you in here tonight, so we're gonna chat just to you for just a second. I hear the phrases on the screen almost every day of my life. We are applying. We are majoring in. We are visiting. This one is true. However, parents, when you sign your student up for an interview and they don't actually want to interview with us, it hurts my feelings when the student comes into my office and he's like, I don't really want to talk to you. My mom signed me up for this. That happened 2 weeks ago. In case you're wondering. I know, thank you. So the other one that we see often is because we allow seniors to sit in classes when they come to visit if they're so interested. There was a student who called to change her visit because she saw she was sitting in a biology class. And she said, I really don't want to major in biology. My dad wants me to major in. We are majoring in. She said, I just want to sit in something different. And she said, there was a religious studies course that I thought was pretty interesting. Can I maybe do that? Same time, same place. Okay, great, sure. She sat in it, and when she was going off and the parent saw the new schedule, he decided again to get a little mean. I'm very disappointed. This is not what we discussed. She is majoring in biology. This is what we've decided. She goes, he sits on the couch, reads the student newspaper, pouts a little bit. She comes back and she is euphoric. This is where I want to go. That's what I want to major in. Maybe I'll just minor though. I don't know. I'm taking that class when I get here. So she's excited. She's excited about learning, and she's excited about the style of learning that the school offers. She and Dad had a very weird conversation on our couch in our lobby because the conversation didn't happen prior. And so students, please be honest about what you're interested in, and parents, be open to having those conversations. It goes further than major. It goes about the college search. It goes about the essay and where you're applying and when you're putting the lists together, because our list of colleges is a thing, but it's the student's list, and it's the one you have that conversation about. We are writing our essay. We should not be writing anyone's essay. Students, you should be writing your own. There are integrity purposes at stake here. You sign it saying that this is mine and that this is my work. There are honor codes at the institutions. We've talked about this. We also please understand that we do check for plagiarism. And so please have integrity in your work and in the work of others. We know the difference between a 17-year-old's college essay and a dissertation paper or a law paper. I've seen a law brief as a college essay. It's not yours. When I signed into our Common App account, the Common Application is just that. It is an application in which schools are a part of, and so there's about 600 schools on the Common Application at this point in time. And you are able to send your one application universally to many different institutions, and you just have to fill one out. So a few years ago, I had a mother who called me crying, and she was crying because her son was getting denied from institutions, and he was upset because he didn't know he applied to said institutions. He said, I worked on it, but I still had my essay, and I decided, with the help of my counselor, that I thought I wanted to apply regular decision because I was taking a really good curriculum and I had an upward trend going. I wanted my senior year grades. Regular decision was the better option for me. But his mother got nervous and she decided that she was going to sign into their Common App account and copy and paste one of his essays on his desktop of his computer into the Common App account. The desktop was a supplemental essay about why a specific college. Why do you want to go to Beloit? It's in Wisconsin. He was not applying via the Common App to Beloit. They weren't on the Common App at the time. And so all of these other institutions had the wrong name of the college in his essay. And so a few things here, more than a few things to learn. But the main parts are one, we do take that very seriously. Are you not paying attention? Did you just not know? Also, that hurts us a little bit to know you like another school better than ours, even though we really do want you to find the best fit for you. And that's really important. So if you liked the other institution better, then that's where you should be. So a few of the schools had denied him, some hadn't given him decisions yet, and so the school I was at actually let him rewrite the application essay because mom fessed up so completely. However, there were some schools that were like, this is a good life lesson for you to learn, Mom. So our list of colleges, and then we've decided the best college for us is. Students, really quickly show of hands, how many of you are planning to take your parents with you to college? Yes. Nice job.
Take me with you?
Students, really quickly, that was a great answer. The right one. Okay, so this says we've been thinking a lot about what we want to do with your life, not the conversation. Okay, so how do colleges make admissions decisions? So every year, and the 2017 one has not come out yet, so this is last year's, but I will say I looked at the 10-year trend chart of this, and not much has changed as far as the order, and the top 5 certainly have not. So the National Association of College Admission Counseling does an admissions trend survey every single year. They ask what are important factors when making college admissions decisions, and the top 5 have consistently been at the top, with the top 3 always being significantly higher. The top 3 are grades in the college prep courses, your grades in all courses, and the strength of your curriculum. Please note grades, not GPA. GPA is individual to your institution. It is not universal because not all scales are equal. And so the colleges are looking at different scales. So you could be like, well, I have a 4.9 GPA on a 6-point scale, on a 12-point scale. So what does that mean? Okay. So we're looking at the school profile. And so we're looking at your individual school profile, what the curriculum is, what you're able to take, just against what you do. We're not looking at the school 6 states away in the same fashion. If you're able to take 2 AP classes because that's all they offer, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna take these 2, you've exhausted your curriculum. If the school down the street offers no AP courses, but they've taken everything that they can, they've exhausted their curriculum. Does that make sense? Okay. Yes, yes, yeah, yeah.
So how would they know, like, we're a military family, we lived in Japan, so how do they know, like, when we came her junior year, that's my daughter, by the way, I'm here for my son, but, like, how would they know what you exhausted and say that school in Japan versus here, like,
It asks for the other schools in which you attended.
and then they do the research, like,
We
they
do.
look at, okay.
Okay, so down at the bottom, and this is always really surprising, it's the interview, the SAT2, extracurricular activities are down there too. And so remember when we talked about those 16 extracurricular activities that you're padding your resume with in your senior year? It matters, but not compared to the grades in those curriculum. So again, passion and purpose, not quantity. The other one that is in there is demonstrated interest, and I tend to get questions on that often. I think it's been in the news or defined a little bit more, so if we could define that now. Does anybody know what demonstrated interest is? Applying to less schools? If only we could see that.
How much contact you've had with the college?
How much contact you've had with the college and in what fashion. And so there are, I've been hearing about 100 plus colleges and universities that visit schools every year. So if the school that you're interested in is coming to visit, did you actually go and see them? Did you go up to their college fair table, even if it's just to say hello? Did you plan an on-campus visit? So things that are trackable, so when they're reading your application, they're like, oh, they like us. We like them too. It's like when I was younger and we passed notes in class versus text. And it was, do you like me, yes, no, or maybe? Yes. They like me too. Okay, so that is what demonstrated interest is. However, I want you just to look at this one more time and freeze it in your brain because this is gonna come into play in just a few short minutes. Remember, 8 volunteers. You have 2 minutes. Okay, so objective versus subjective criteria. Objective, the academic course selection, so what you're able to take 9 through 12, what the pathway is that you're able to take. Your overall performance, the senior courses that are in progress, your test scores, what is the ACT out of? 36. What is the SAT out of? 1,600. So those are the same. That is the universal score for every applicant that the colleges see. And so the application volume at the school, that is the same for every applicant that applies to the institution. Your subjective criteria is what you are able to do to make yourself different and stand out. Your extracurricular activities, the essay. I was on a panel last year and there was a dean that said if you dropped your essay in the hallway of your school without your name on it, and a random person picked it up, would they be able to give it back to you? And I thought that was really powerful. Your recommendation letters. A few things here. I want to just be like, oh, find somebody to recommend you who will actually recommend you. Because I have read unrecommendation letters. So that makes me think, what are you doing? Okay, but at the same time, please pay attention to the quantity that the school is asking. If they are asking for 3, send 3. If they are asking for 2, send 2. If they are asking for 3, don't send 42. That's a true story. There's a fairly highly selective institution in Indiana in which they ask for 3. 1 counselor, 1 academic, 1 extracurricular. A lot of us have pretty savvy application reading systems, typically online. And so when the students, 3 applications were received, or 3 recommendation letters, were received by the college, it kicked the application to the reader because the application was then complete. Little did they know that 39 additional letters of recommendation were to arrive in their office. Now, were those the 3 letters that best represented the student and the student's journey? The ones that she really wanted the reader to see? Who knows? So please be mindful. Also, I don't know 42 people that would recommend me. So I'm actually pretty impressed with this student in that fact. But please be mindful of that. Find people to recommend you and ask early. There are hundreds of students at your school and in your graduating class. So they are asking for transcripts, they are asking for recommendation letters. So if you are interested in a teacher or a counselor writing you a recommendation letter, please ask early. Do not wait until the day before the deadline, because you probably aren't going to receive it. And then your application's late. And then bad things happen. So, interviewing, you can interview with a counselor, you can interview with an admissions reader, you can interview with an alum of the institution. Please just be mindful, is it required? Is it highly suggested? Do you think that there's something on your record that you'd like to explain? So is it beneficial to you? Would you like to do one? That's okay if you do. It's also okay if you don't. The campus visit, again, going on campus, seeing what the school is all about, having conversations with students, eating in the dining hall. Can I eat this food for the next 4 years? Okay. I gave you 5, not 2. So, 8 volunteers, pretty please. Okay, so you now have my job. You are the admissions committee, part of my job. And it's a pretty fun one because you guys, we've learned a lot tonight. We're talking about the admissions decision and that it's not just about GPA. However, at this time, all we know is the GPA of our new applicant pool. Where our 3.7 is at currently, she is in the least likely to be admitted slot. Our 2.8 is in the most likely to be admitted spot. So if we were to rearrange our applicants based upon what we know, which is simply their GPA, how would we rearrange them? Highest to lowest. Can you please arrange yourselves highest to lowest? This is my no, highest is up here. And then lowest is up here. So what you guys are going to do is I'm going to read prompts. You have that on the back of your card. And so if it says move up so many spaces, you're going to skip people, not come back and forth. So please just be careful on the platform because that scares me just a little bit. And then if you could let people in to make space for them just because we're in a little bit of tick space. Okay? Awesome. All right, if you have taken an exceptionally strong academic program, AP, IB, honors, dual enrollment, move up 4 spaces. Okay, let him in. I know, it hurts a little bit. Let him in. If your grades increasingly improved over the course of your high school years, move up 2 spaces. If you direct the choir at your church, move up 1 space. If your SAT score is in the top 10% of the college's accepted pool, move up 3 spaces. Because you did not give enough time to your teachers and counselors, your letters of recommendation arrived in the admission office after the deadline. Move down 5 spaces. You applied to several schools but you applied, move down 4 spaces. It's one of you. You didn't change the name of the school in the essay. I did this program a few days ago with a group that visited, and a young woman who had the 4.1 card touted her way down to the end, and one of her friends said, well, that's not her fault. And I said, well, whose is it? And she went, And so I don't know who is, but what's her fault? These are things that you can affect. And so they're easy things. You pay attention to deadline dates. You remember the name of the school who you're applying. These are things that can affect your admission, but shouldn't, because you know better. You can do better. You're doing better. If you had a positive interview while visiting campus, move up 1 space. Your SAT score is in the middle 50% range of the college's accepted pool. Move up 2 spaces. Can you guys, come on up. Sit down with me. Yeah, thank you. Okay, if you did not write the optional essay, move down 5 spaces. Yeah, thank you. If you decided not to take a core course as a senior and instead received an early release from school, move down 2 spaces. If you're an Eagle Scout, Gold Award winner, or participated in extracurricular activities, athletics, drama, music, move up 1 space. If you got a D in an academic course at the end of your junior year, move down 3 spaces. If you wrote a letter to the college admission officer and explained the extenuating circumstances surrounding said grade of D, move up 1 space. So, as you can see, we notice it, but we also really like when you're transparent with us as to why. If you participated in community service activities since the 8th grade, move up 1 space. You dropped a course in your senior year without telling your colleges. Move down 3 spaces. You missed the application deadline. Move down 25 spaces. Okay. If you plagiarized an American history paper, you got caught. So you should just sit down because you're out of the competition. All right. Admissions committee, here are your finalists. Unless you're comfortable, I mean, you do you. So what do you think? We always talk about GPA. I like this activity. It's a game. I like this game. Because it shows that there are more to the applicant. There is more to the applicant and to the application than just that bottom line number. And so we've looked at 50% ranges. We've looked at what they've done. We really looked at what our 3.3 did. He applied early decision. So he applied binding. He raised his hand to say, you're my top choice school as a legacy to the institution. With a solid curriculum, solid SAT score, but he plagiarized. So again, please have integrity in your work and in the work of others. A few years ago, I worked for a test optional institution. So there are over 500 test optional institutions in the United States. That's not to say please don't take the test because their schools are usually asking for something else. But there's a great website at fairtest.org if you're interested in seeing what they are. Wake Forest, the University of Chicago. I mean, you know those schools. There are some big names that are test optional. And so he decided, because we asked for 2 pieces of writing. One is something that they've done in high school already, and one is like a supplemental essay. So just about anything that you'd like. That anything that you like was not a dissertation paper from a guy named Phil from the University of Chicago. The reason I knew the guy's name was Phil because he attached the PDF with the guy's name on it. It was also in psychology, and it was a really good paper. I mean, go Phil. However, the guy's name was not Phil. So he had a very bad day because we denied him, called his counselors. The counselor then called the other institutions because Phil's paper had been making the rounds, and he was denied from all of his institutions. We take it very seriously. So please, 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 don't plagiarize. Okay, don't miss application deadlines. Okay, let's thank our volunteers. I had a student last year who had the 3.3, so the plagiarism card, and she wanted me to make mention that in no way, shape, or form does that card actually represent who she is as a student. So that is my disclaimer for that card. Okay, so in summary of this evening, I feel like the GPA game is a wonderful way to end the evening. It shows so much. The summary of tonight. No matter your skills or your talents or your abilities, there are great colleges. It is plural for you. Doing your research, working with your counselors, going to visit are all incredibly important parts of this process. And so, being honest with yourself, with your family, with others, also really important. So finding out what you don't like is just as important as finding out what you do. College is a match to be made, not a prize to be won. It's not a game. So take it very seriously. Okay. So, I have a slide, and the video is not working because it's my running joke, because this is Randolph Macon, and the kid there, it was tied, it was overtime, there was 1 second left on the clock, and he literally shot a Hail Mary pass and won the game. And it's crazy because in life, you're like, okay, sometimes I just need a Hail Mary, right? And so it's a pretty funny YouTube video, should you have some time later. But I did have a student in my office who said, I can't possibly do any more admissioning. And so I thought that was a great phrase because he's like, I do need that Hail Mary right now. I'm like, okay. So if you have some time later, please look it up. But I'll leave you with this for this evening. The best college is one that will challenge you appropriately, open your eyes to new ways of thinking, and help you develop and broaden your talents as you take place in the world ahead. So as you go through this process, please try and keep that in mind. Okay. Thank you so much for your time tonight. I really appreciate it.